bring him up. Please rise. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing and hold the sounds for the sick, handicapped, departed, and military personnel of our community. Roll call.
Council President Bill Henderson.
Here.
Vice President Ian.
Here.
Bruce Cavaducci.
Here.
Joe Clark.
Here.
Joe Verducci.
Here.
Virginia Snyder. Here. Nick Tushowski.
Here.
Mayor Betty Copeland. Here. Solicitor Thomas Thurman.
Here.
Borough Engineer Kevin Brett.
Here.
Borough Manager Lori Collins. Here. Assistant to the Manager Cheryl Glover. Here. Police Chief Chad King.
Here.
Fire Chief Ray Hussein.
Here.
Southbridge EMS Dan Miller.
Here. Thank you. Before we get started, I'm going to turn the meeting over to the mayor.
Good evening. Mike Tolman, would you please come forward? We have a proclamation for you. Whereas Michael Richard Tolman, born January 27, 1969, would become a future council president in the borough of Bridgeville, and whereas his siblings, Justin Kim and Kara Tolmer and Frank Stensel Jr., are the children of Linda Calava Stensel and late Frank Stensel. On October 7, 1985, Mike was fortunate to marry Courtney Donnelly. Together they purchased the home that he grew up in on Chestnut Street in the borough of Bridgeville, and they are blessed with 2 children, Emily and Matthew. Mike was led to serve the community where he lived all of his life with the support of his wife and friends. He ran a successful campaign for Bridgeville Council in 2011 and has served the past 8 years, with 6 of those years serving as council president. Throughout his 8 years of service, Mike collaborated with neighboring townships and worked across party lines for the betterment of the borough of Bridgeville. Therefore, to honor and commend Councilman President Tolmer for his many achievements and longevity, today was proclaimed Mike Tolmer Day in the borough of Bridgeville, Pennsylvania. We are so happy to recognize all of your knowledge and that you are now on the planning commission, so you'll still be serving us.
I thank you all so much. Mayor Copeland, this is such an honor. As you all may know, you know how much I love this community, and we, I don't plan on ever stop doing stuff for this town, and I hope we can still do many good things. I love working with the council, and you guys have a great council here, and I just want to keep continuing the good work. So with all your help, I know we can do it. So thank you very much. Did my family know about this?
Yeah.
It's all Thanks.
Before we get started with visitors, Tom Dewar is present, and I wanted to say a few words.
Yeah. Hi everyone. I just wanted to come and introduce myself. Sorry I couldn't come here sooner, but the Bethel Park committee meeting meets on the borough meeting meets on the same night. For those of you who don't know me yet, my name is Tom Dewar. I'm the new county council member for County Council District 5, which includes all of Bethel Park, Mount Lebanon, Upper St. Clair, and Bridgeville. really excited to get started. We've had our first couple meetings thus far. I've had two, and I have our third meeting tomorrow. I was just appointed to 6 committees on county council: economic development, health and human services, parks, just to name three of those. Really excited to get started and working with everyone here in Bridgeville. So for the council, should you guys need anything from me on a county level, I'm happy to reach out. I know I've met Mayor Copeland, Joe, Nick already, so I'm really excited to get started here working with you all, and hopefully have a good working relationship over the next 4 years. So, thank you all very much.
Welcome, Doug. Thank you. Okay, Joe Martini.
Before I get into this, a dumpster was delivered at 131 Washington Avenue. So I came here to ask if the building permit had been requested. And they weren't able to give me a building permit. They said they had sent it over to the dumpster. Has a building permit been issued or been submitted to the
Building permit application and a demolition application have been submitted. They're all in order and ready to go. The only thing that they're waiting for is the asbestos certification from the county.
So you're saying they're getting ready to move forward with the building permit?
Yes. Building inspection underwriters did all of the review. It was actually there for 2 months.
Okay.
So it's ready to go. They're just waiting for the asbestos
Okay.
results, and then they'll be.
Yeah, I just want to make sure, because it's been out for a while, and I want to make sure I wasn't just kind of wasted the time with this. So, as you know, I've been opposed to this crematorium going into that space for as long as soon as I found out. And so here we are now. Building permit's been issued. They're getting ready to begin this, but I think it's necessary before we open Pandora's box to reflect on how we got to this point and make a determination as to whether we want to continue to move forward. I mean, people think I don't like crematoriums, but my dog died in December, and I own 16 acres, and I own a backup. But yet I had my dog cremated because I didn't want to deal with the grief of bringing that, that dog home. So I don't have a problem with crematoriums. I get it, right? All it has to do with the safety of this crematorium. And so, as I went through this process and trying to figure out if this made sense, I looked at the neighboring communities. And what I found is Peters Township doesn't allow a crematorium in any district that has habitation. Collier has, in their zoning requirements, it says a crematorium as a principal use shall be set back a minimum of 200 feet from all lot lines of existing dwellings, schools, daycares, and centers, and all undeveloped residential sublots. So Collier is so concerned about the safety of a crematorium that they require that it be set back 200 feet away from where anybody lives. Okay? And so I'm like, well, obviously there's something going on here that we're not catching. So now if we turn around and we look at the conditional use requirements, the borough does allow conditional use of a crematorium. And that's to suggest that in the space of the mixed use, the borough is expected to assess whether or not a crematorium makes sense. Otherwise, they would treat it like an accounting firm, right? The crematorium is a unique situation that needs to be used in a very, very careful condition to make sure that everyone's safety is maintained. And so, in this particular case, we have a crematorium which Collier says has to be 200 feet away from where anybody sleeps. And we're going to put that into a non-conforming structure which doesn't even comply with the standard setback requirements established by Bridgeville. So we have a non-conforming structure and a conditional use business that our neighboring community says should be at least 200 feet away from where anybody lives. Now, in this particular case, this crematorium will be 17 feet away from Dwayne and Kim's apartment, which is on the north side of the building. And Nora, the 2-year-old little baby, her bedroom window is 22 feet away from where this crematorium can be. Yet Collier Township says 200 feet away. I'm sorry, what? Oh, I'm sorry, I thought I was. Okay. So this kind of has me really perplexed as to why we would just arbitrarily do this. Now, The building permit application, or the conditional use application was submitted on January 18th. It was approved on January 28th without not one question being asked. Literally, Tom, you walked in here, you guys signed off on it, or the planning commission signed off on it. Not one question was asked about anything. So we're going to put a crematorium 22 feet away from Nora's bedroom, where Collier Township says it should be 200 feet away from Nora's bedroom, without asking one question. Okay? So now we get to the point of, you don't have to excuse me, I'm a petrified public speaker. I drive race cars, and this scares the shit out of me. So I'm sorry, but I ask that you indulge me. Okay? Now, in order to have a conditional use application considered, there must be a public notice for it. It requires newspaper, it requires posting on the building, and it requires every property owner within 300 feet of that building must receive a notice of the intent of the community to put that conditional use business in that state. Okay? That didn't happen. The only thing that was done, it was an article, there was the posting, nothing was on the building, nothing was put out in the mail. And that was confirmed at the May 13th meeting here. Okay?
If I might interrupt real quick, I did also talk to you about this time, and you brought that issue up at that time, and you had actually literature from your own lawyer, and I actually transparently informed you that if you as an aggrieved party felt that there was a procedural defect in that decision, you had 30 days to appeal that to the common pleas court.
Well, I understand. So you're telling me that in order to keep this from happening, I got to go to the court?
That's exactly what I explained.
I understand. So I'm not sitting here to debate that. Here's what I'd like to say. Now, because the borough failed to provide public notice, the Supreme Court has ruled that, if I might read from this, the court found that the public and neighboring landowners have interests that are protected by the procedural safeguards given to the public and neighbors, notice of proposed zoning ordinance or conditional use permit, providing them the opportunity to participate in the consideration of such changes, which is important since the property rights of the public and the neighboring landowners may be affected by the proposed action. And then it goes on to say, according to the Supreme Court, found that the decision to grant a conditional use permit was void, and since no valid decision was made, there is no date. So they're saying, therefore, the dismissal of the neighboring landowner's complaint is untimely and illegal. So what they're saying is that technically, anybody can contest this conditional use approval at any point.
But that's actually not what that says. That's the same article you shared with me.
Oh, I understand that. So my point is so you're saying, well, if you're aggrieved, then go to court. I'm saying, why did we go there? We have a situation where we're putting a crematorium 200 feet away, or 20 feet away from a baby's window, and we didn't even ask a single question. And I just think that, I'm not going to debate this with you because I'm not a lawyer, but I'm sitting here to tell you that it seems to me that there was an injustice done in the approval of this crematorium, which I believe is going to end up in a backlash against our community. And I just think that's not fair. So I ask you, back it out and do it right. And if you're not willing to do that, then I guess in that respect, we'll see what happens. Okay, the next thing that I would like to bring your attention is at the June 10th meeting of the site plan, someone argued that, or challenged the position of the engineer that only 702 square feet of a 2,200 square foot building needed to be accounted for when calculating the minimum parking requirements. Now, I sit on the zoning board, and when I was at Mrs. Snyder's zoning variance meeting, I had this conversation with the zoning board members. And they said, no, that's not how it works. You have to come to the whole building, and then it's up to the property owner to establish an argument as to why they should exclude any part of that building. And so now we have a difference of opinions between the engineer and the zoning board, and I asked for that consideration. I didn't even ask one of the members from the zoning board to be here. I assume they're not.
I call him.
Okay, so now we have a situation where we have two different interpretations by two different governing bodies of Bridgeville. And I'm saying, okay, so why am I now having to deal with the fact that there's going to be a parking problem in Bridgeville because it's a 2,200 square foot building. It's not a 700 square foot building. And so my position is before we release the building permit, there should be a reassessment of that particular property to make sure that it is in fact compliant with the zoning requirements of Bridgeville. And so just to arbitrarily let them go ahead and build this thing without doing that just seems to be an injustice. So I'm asking that that be presented to the zoning board for their consideration. And that's my request.
And if I might, and I can advise council on it further in more detail. That actual, the issue you raised was raised and vetted and determined by Sean Wingrove, Sean Smith, Kevin's colleague at Linda Smith, who reviewed that matter in the context, and he was satisfied that they met. I don't know whether there may or may not be an information gap between what you and talk with these folks about. I don't know.
So
But the zoning board doesn't have jurisdiction in this matter, number one. Number two, it was reviewed by this board prior to and included as part of that decision. And again, it was months before that the conditional use hearing happened. And then the site plan also was approved. One, as I also explained, has 30 days to appeal if they have a problem with that site plan consideration. We don't have the power to go back and undo it, and in my opinion, don't have the legal authority basis if they comply with the approved site plan and the building permit requirements to proceed with the approved plan.
I did double check with the building inspector to ensure that there wasn't anything on the included in the building permit that wasn't included in the site plan. For say some interior renovations or renovations to the top floor or anything like that that would increase square footage. And there's nothing. They're taking off the back. They're taking off a little back addition. They're not doing anything to the interior, and they're putting on that, that back. But there's nothing.
You're correct, and I'm not.
So if
I
I
may
may-
not recall, there was an issue that had to do with the parking requirement for the occupancy was there, and there was some suggestion that there was maybe another occupancy or occupancy potential. We advised prior to where the applicant that if and when they ever did occupy that count would have to be taken into consideration. But under the single occupancy plan, as the way it was filed, they were compliant with the ordinance requirements with regard to parking.
So under which 702 square feet?
I'm not going to debate chapter and verse on numbers in front of you that I don't have at my disposal. Conceptually, what I said, I believe, was the case. That the number requirements were met based on the open space square footage. I see Kevin shaking his head.
Our ordinance states one space per 250 square feet for customer service and retail sales. So where that furnace is going to be, am I correct, Kevin? That isn't included in the calculation because there's not going to be any.
Well, that's another issue that I'd like to address. But so if I walk into that building on any given day, when do I determine that they're kind of in violation of their space? I mean, so I walk in on one day and they have the second floor work, huh?
If they're using the upstairs. For,
Okay, so you're saying
for
anything that's upstairs, it is considered a violation of
No, if they utilize the upstairs for retail or customer service.
What if they use it as an office?
It's a different use. Then they have to
But it has to be
comply.
reflected in the site plan.
If she uses that as her own office space, serving that own single occupancy business, then it's included in it.
How is this not? So now you've expanded 700 square feet to 1,400 square feet, right? You're saying she can use the second floor as an office, but she doesn't have to account for it. That's clearly not how it works. It's like every square foot has to be accounted for. Now, if she wants to quarantine that space, then I would argue, okay, that's an acceptable way to do that. Because then we know if she tears the wall down, then she's now expanding beyond the accepted use of the site. The second question I have is, did she put the incinerator in the garage?
You'd have to check with the building inspector. He reviewed everything and it's all in compliance, firewalls.
Yeah, I understand that, but there's an incinerator in the garage. That's what they're going to do because that's why they built the garage. If they put an incinerator in the garage, they've now expanded the use of that space to include a process. An incinerator is a piece of equipment that processes bio waste into something else. It's not retail sales or customer service. It is an incinerator. And so therefore, if they've expanded the use of that property to include an incineration process, that needs to be reflected in the site plan. So they are now violating the square footage that they in fact have given us. And that needs to be considered on the site plan. And I believe it would have to be as a variance.
The site plan showed the parking and they gave what their uses were based on the ordinance and what they submitted complies with the ordinance. Everything else deals with building permit and how they break up the space. If they violate the space and what they're calling each square foot within the building permit, the building inspector will have to just check that.
Right.
And make sure that they meet those categories. The information that the borough received was reviewed, and they meet the parking.
And the building inspector does do a final walkthrough. They do inspections throughout, but he's the one that issues the occupancy on. So he will be the one that issues it after he sees the final product.
Yeah, but that's not the argument here. The argument is if they put a pizza oven in the garage, they're going to have to account for the fact that they now start to make pizzas too. It's not just customer service and retail sales. They're doing something else there that they didn't disclose at the time of the site plan. And that needs to be taken into consideration. It would be unfair to allow them just to arbitrarily expand the use of the building to something other than what they disclosed. Right? Does that make sense? I mean, that's why I'm doing that.
It sounds like you're making some assumptions of what you think they're going to do.
Well, they're going to put an incinerator in the garage. I mean, that's not an assumption. It's the only way you can do it.
Yeah. But what they've asked to do and permitted to do has been approved. I mean, so.
I understand. But if they put an incinerator in the garage, that is not what they asked for, and that's not what they were approved for.
Okay, so do we know if they put an incinerator in the garage? Do we know that? We don't.
Well, I don't know what it's called as far as, the device that
It's
they
a crematorium.
crematorium. But I do believe that's going to go into that area. Yes.
Does that change the permit at all?
No, not quite. In fact, this was actually reviewed in June, covered by them, and I'm looking at my notes, that exam, and actually the potentiality of a second floor occupancy was raised. It's not included in the plan, and in fact, Sean and I talked that it would either have to be included in the plan if contemplated, or we would give a disclaimer, and they were advised accordingly. With regard to, the facility is actually a crematorium where that operation is carried out, okay? That's by definition what the nature of her business was. People to be. People are bringing their pets there to be cremated in that site. By definition, there's going to be a contraption to do that.
That's not the argument. The argument is they're not out. They didn't
Can I finish and I'll answer that question? I'm trying to answer that very question. The parking requirement for that kind of business is based on the square footage of the public space. So that if you, by your pizza analogy, if you had to have so many parking spaces for the public part of your pizza shop, and you were making the pizzas down in the basement, the fact that you put your pizza oven in the basement, in fact, does not kick in parking requirements additional to what that, because it's not an expansion, it's part of the operation.
So, Mr. McDermott, if I may ask one more point, because I don't want to waste your time. Now that the building permit has been processed, I have 30 days to challenge the building permit, is that correct? Okay. And so I'll just deal with the zoning board and just deal with the permit. Okay.
John, I'd like to answer one question
Yeah.
to you. When they came before planning commission, I was a member of planning commission, if you recall that.
No, I wasn't there. I didn't find out about this.
I
until May.
can test the crematory mechanical,
Right.
if you will, which the following month, and that's on record, they have a county paper and everything that was okay to do that. So at that time, I and the rest of the planning commission have no choice to agree with that. As far as all these other things with the engineer and everything also came before us. At that time, we, the planning commission, thought it was everything in the regulation. Otherwise, I think we did postpone some contingency. I don't recall exactly. And then the following month, it took about 3 or 4 months that this got through. It was quite a few contingency on it, okay? Now, go back on the crematory. We have one up Washington Avenue for years and years. If you recall, I don't know if you live in Bridgeville then, Blair Pharmacy was there. And they put one over there, which the building is side by side, and maybe they don't even have I was in council there, but I was not involved with any other committees such as the planning commission commission and everything. And there seems to be no complaint at all for years and years over there. I just want, I don't know if you knew we have one on which.
I know, and I beg to differ with you. People do object to the smell, but that's not neither here nor there.
I've never had a complaint.
Really, well, just people say, yeah, you can tell when they're doing it. It's, nobody's made a big deal out of it, but, okay.
Just we've never had.
Well, I can tell you that if there is a smell, you will hear it from us. And also, if they continue to use my parking lot for turning around, you will hear from us. So, this is going to get real ugly real quick, I'm convinced. And I was hoping that we could find a way to do this correctly so that we don't have this turning into a very negative situation. So, these parking requirements are contrary to the way this should be done. And I'm convinced of that, and you're not going to convince me otherwise. I sit on the zoning board, we deliberated for 2.5 hours because Tom's Dance Studio had 60 parking spaces, and the zoning board said they needed another 20. For 2.5 hours we deliberated. On this sort of thing, we didn't even give it 20 minutes. It's just ridiculous. So, look, I know that I'm not going to convince you, Mr. McDermott kind of has the floor here, and you're welcome to do whatever you want. I'm just telling you, we are now all aware of the fact that there was no public notice for this. Our rights to have a conversation about this were taken away, and nobody seems to care. The parking requirements have been, I mean, it's just a muddled mess. I don't know how you're going to manage that, but that's fine. I will deal with it as best I can. But I have to tell you that, you know, I'm very bitter about this. For 30 years, I've occupied the place in Bridgeville and never said a word. Never saw me once. This thing has been horribly used. And I'm just very bitter about it. I have to be honest, I'm very bitter about it. And so you're welcome to do what you want, and I will continue to fight the battles that I feel I have to fight. Thank you. I appreciate it, and I'm sorry that I'm such a horrible person.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Courtney Cole.
Good evening, everybody. I am here to give an update on the tree project that we've been working on with Tree Pittsburgh. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to Lori for working with Tree Pittsburgh, and in mid-January, Lori and Kinsey Miller from Tree Pittsburgh walked Washington Avenue to check the planting pits, as well as seeing pit sizes were appropriate for the trees that we would like to plant, in addition to checking to see if there were any utility conflicts that we have concerns about. So what my understanding, we had originally the potential to plant 28 trees, and with after the walkthrough, there are 20 available spots for planting that would be viable. 3 of those spots are in parking authority lots on Washington Avenue. And if you want to take one of these and pass one down. The area indicated in purple, there is room to plant 3 trees, which would bring the total to 20 from Hickman to Bower Hill, including 3 of the spots indicated in purple. So at Lori's request, I emailed the parking authority, didn't hear back from them for a while, it was over 2 weeks. So went ahead and called and spoke directly with Mike Conley, explained what we were doing, and that we were looking to see if we could potentially plant 3 trees in that spot. He is checking with the parking authority, and also I believe they have a private landscaping business that takes care of their lots. So just making sure that that was okay. So if we do get permission from them, then that would bring the total tree count to 20. He did, at the time of the conversation, give us permission during planting to use the lot there for staging, to put mulch and to have the registration tables, as well as tables for the volunteers that are working with food and helping out the people that are there today, that day to do the work. On the 29th of January, Tree Pittsburgh came back quality. They said the soil quality is very good. However, they are going to add something called biochar, which is, or biochar rather, it's to amend the soil just to make sure that the trees have the best possible chance of thriving in the new planting space. Right now, I wanted to just run this by you. April 4th is the date that they're looking for to do the planting, if you guys decide that you're okay with moving forward with this project. I haven't put anything out publicly yet. I just wanted to make sure before we start trying to get volunteers. I have a list probably of more people than I need, but I wanted to make sure that April 4th was fine for you. You don't have to be in attendance, but just making sure that that's okay. They've tentatively scheduled us because their planting days are booking up pretty quickly. So the original planting was for 28. We only are planting potentially 20 trees. I asked about the Plan B sites for additional planting. Their recommendation is they would like to do a second project or a second planting, to keep it simple, to do the first planting and then come back to the borough and see where other trees are needed, potentially get some additional funding from them so we could, continue doing this, but it could be in parks, different types of trees, whatever. So they're open to that as well. Just to recap, Tree Pittsburgh is going to provide a map of the planting site so we know specifically where each tree will be located. It's my plan to go to each of the businesses that are going to have a tree in front of them and basically talk to the business owners and explain the project so it's not planting day and they walk out and see that they're having a tree put in front of their property. So we'll have a map of the planting sites. I believe that Kinsey is going to reach out to you if she has not already about a PA1 call and any additional questions or concerns that you have. Okay, I really do appreciate you working with her on that project. So they will provide the trees, the stakes, all of the planting tools for the day of the planting. They will provide 4 staff members to help with the planting and do a planting demonstration that morning. They will provide high visibility vests and gloves. And then what we will provide, when I say we, my husband and I, will provide so 3 yards of undyed mulch. And what we can do is either talk to Public Works, we can provide the funding if you want us to use the exact same mulch. We can do that, or we can privately purchase with the funding that we have, but just we can cross that bridge if we get a little bit closer. We'll provide a registration table and tent, coffee, breakfast, and lunch for all of the volunteers, which is a requirement that Tree Pittsburgh has that we do for their planting events. We will also purchase the arbor ties. We're looking into having 5-gallon buckets donated, one for each of the trees, so that it's the best type of watering for the trees. What you do is you fill a 5-gallon bucket, and the bucket has holes in it. If you put a hose that's just running, the water will run into the street. So what you do is you fill the bucket, and you set it next to the tree, and it slowly seeps into the tree, and it absorbs the water into the root system. So we're getting those hopefully donated. We need 20 to 25 volunteers. As I mentioned, we have a Facebook event that we're waiting to go live until we decide what date is appropriate. And we're hiring a photographer to take photos of the day of planting, and so we can get some good PR for Bridgeville. So, and one final thing, there is another tree tenders course that Tree Pittsburgh is holding, which will be on Saturday, February 22nd in Lawrenceville from 9 to 4. Mike and I attended the last one. There were probably 50 people there from all over Pittsburgh. People that are members of the Shade Tree Commission, people that are just concerned citizens, but it was very informational. They do provide lunch for you, and it was a $40 class from 9 to 4. TreePittsburgh.org/events, and you can find out what the details are. Does anybody have any questions?
Just two questions for me. First of all, Lori, I know we had some, there was some concern about the sites. Are we comfortable with the sites as they've been defined with by the group?
As far as, the one thing that I would say would be, I think we should send letters to the business owners, letting them know what's proposed. Because I've had a few business owners that have said that they didn't want a tree blocking their view, when we were talking about them way back. So as far as that goes, and just also so that council knows that these trees aren't going to be planted with any type of tree loss. So,
Would you like that letter to come from council, or would you like that to come directly from us?
probably from the board, just giving them information that there's a potential for a grant for street trees, and just getting, their input as far as, how they would feel about the trees being planted. It probably would be helpful if I talked to Kinsey and I saw, where the trees were going to be, so I
She's
just
providing a map, so
Yeah.
I will send that to you, and I'll also CC you on it, Bill, that way you have what, I have. And as I mentioned, I'm happy to go to the businesses in person and explain and answer any questions that they may have about the plantings.
And just listening to her when she presented, I get the impression they're considerate of location of the business's signage and things like that.
Absolutely, yeah.
When she walked with me, there were different trees proposed in different areas as to how the area is set up. There are smaller trees in front of businesses where, the larger trees just won't be conducive to the site. So I think it was two different types of trees. Yes.
And if it's near like a major intersection, it's not going to be a tree that's going to like go, and then they're going to
Kind of go this way.
Yes, they'll be more vertical.
Vertical instead of out. So.
You did talk about how the trees will enhance, say, a shading and the importance of pruning early on and throughout the early life of the tree. Is that something that Tree Pittsburgh still does?
We don't prune a tree until after 2 years. So the only maintenance that would be required would be the mulching initially, and then watering and putting them on a watering schedule. So we would take care of monitoring that. I could work with Lori to let her know who from our volunteers is coming and when they're doing it. Also seeing what businesses are interested. I'd like as many that are interested to participate in the planting, because then they're more invested in taking care of the tree and it's feeling more as a sense of community. Not saying that this tree's in front of your business, you gotta water it later, that's not what this is about. It's about everybody coming together to make Bridgeville better. So,
Well, I was just referring to, she talked about, so the people that are worried about the visibility of their sign and their, what they see when they look out, the pruning over time is what she talked about. They could prune it so it wouldn't impede your view or, the signage on your building.
well, so the pruning is for, really you're pruning anything that's dead on the tree, anything, you want to plant the right tree so that you're not having a situation where you plant a tree that's going to get really big and there's power lines and you have to lop the top of the tree off.
And I understand that. I just want to know, do they
Yeah.
do the pruning or?
So Mike and I went to the tree tenders course. We know how to do that. Also, they have mulching parties, so you can reach out to Tree Pittsburgh and they will say your community needs to have an area taken care of. That room full of 50 people that were at the tree tenders course were very excited and wanted to reach out to other neighborhoods and other communities and say, hey, if you're gonna go and trim your trees, we'd love to come and help you. And then you'll come and help us with ours. And, so people are very excited about it. It's not just, there's not a lot of pruning though, to answer your question about the first two, you don't do that the first 2 years. But yes, that would be something that would take place and that they would
I'm all for the
participate.
trees, Court. I was
No, no, no.
curious how
Yeah.
that process works. Do they come and do the pruning, or, so now I know that you and the
So we can do the pruning,
volunteer.
and it's also something that would be great if anybody from Public Works that's interested. I would think that that would be something fantastic because now that I've been to this class, Mike and I are driving along and it's like, that tree really needs to be pruned and, so.
Just to let me know, I'll get Public Works to do the best we can.
Perfect.
Only if they're trained.
Of course.
Trained.
Yeah, we have a couple of
Is there
one
anything we
anyway, I
need-
know.
Is there anything we need to do tonight to move forward?
Probably just, I would say, you want to do it April 4th.
That's the proposed date. I don't think we're gonna need to be in a rush to get volunteers. So what I think, so that the borough doesn't feel like something's out on social media before any business owners have been notified, I don't wanna do that because I don't want to make anybody feel like they have not been given fair warning or information or feeling left out type of thing. How about I forward the planting maps to both of you and take a look and see what you think. You can talk to Kinsey at any point. She's,
And then we can
work
get letters out, and I think,
and I'm happy to go around, like I said, that was one of the things that I felt very important to do, is to talk to the business owners. But I think that would be better. And then you guys can, that's
Plus
your
you can
decision.
show them the kind of tree that they were planting.
Yeah, just give them information and, answer questions and, that way, like I said, they're not walking out on planting day and what is this? Why don't we know about it? So, I'm happy to hold off on making it public, if you will, because I do think I have enough volunteers already. But I'll get you that information and any questions you have in the meantime, please let me know.
and we'll send the letters out now as we get the responses back.
So are you asking them, do you want a tree here?
Well, what, I think, what the verbiage should probably be is we have the opportunity to, have tree plantings that, we're going to have, tree tenders and, and explain, and if we have the map, this is the type of tree that would be planted and it's going to be here, and, we want to get your input before we move forward.
Sure.
And just, see what the response is. And if there's somebody that's on the fence or whatever, maybe, I can forward their information to you and you can go talk to them. And then,
Because the trees are being planted on their own property. It's not, we're not planting a tree in front of someone's business in land that they own. It's owned by the borough. So you don't really need their permission to do so. So, it's kind of a slippery slope. It's, if you're opening it up to, do you want it there? So that business owner leaves in 6 months and then you lose this opportunity to have trees where you put them. So,
the only thing that I'm concerned with is our ordinance states that sidewalks and curbs are the responsibility of the property owners. And when we did that project up there, we more or less said, okay, it wasn't a condition that was caused by something that happened 29 years before, and here it is, but you're going to be responsible from here on in. So even though, we did that project and we planted bushes, ultimately, if the sidewalks are destroyed or, something happens or whatever, the property owners are responsible to replace them, not the borough. And that's within the whole borough. So that's,
But I believe if we were to install trees, it would be our duty to assure that the trees don't grow in a manner that messes with the sidewalks, because the sidewalk under them would be well taken.
that's what happened
You
last
caused
time.
it, yeah.
But
That's what happened.
if I understand correctly, when the young lady was with you from she said that, and I remember very well, that the roots of these trees, they're not like the previous trees that we had. I recall them very well. At certain point they stopped, like I say, you're not gonna go any further. I mean, I recall that conversation, so
Correct.
we should have no problem with that.
And we're not asking them to take care of the trees. We're just saying, this is where we would like to plant trees. It is not your responsibility to take care of these trees. It's like, here you go, here's something to take care of. You know, we are providing the watering schedule and all of these things. So I would just be concerned about the verbiage of asking for
Yes.
too much permission from somebody that doesn't own the property and isn't expected to care for those trees. So that would be my only concern. But I'll provide you with the information and any questions that you have. If I can see the letter before it goes out. Okay, that'd be great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Court.
Thank
One last
you.
thing, we're at the annual meeting that weekend. So we are live on April 4th.
Okay.
Yeah, we're out of town. I did it with them.
Oh, you make up that day?
Everybody
Oh, yeah,
That's probably why they did it.
Is everybody gone? Like, all of you? Okay.
That would be the story.
I will see if she has other dates, but that's the date she provided. That's something else I can ask her if you want to talk to her. If there's another date. Sure. Before we make it public. So, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your work, Courtney. Thank you.
Bob, Brian?
It's finally clear after all these years why Mike Plummer was such an effective councilman. He was his highly organized, attention to detail woman behind him.
Joe, Bob, we finally agree on something.
At any rate, I gave you guys some things in the big one, and I think I gave you some wrong information. I just want to briefly go over some things with you. I'm not going to talk as long as the two previous speakers, but as you know, for the past 10 years, I've been unhappy with the quality of life of people in Bridgeville, the facilities. I think the taxes they're paying is a greater percentage of their modest incomes than some of the other communities. And I am asking you as a new group of people with, I think, a new attitude, that if you become more aggressive in trying to solve the fundamental traffic congestion problem and the parking problem, so the business districts can expand, so you can get the money to do all of the things like Mrs. Coleman was describing to you and many more. I want to mention something else to you because I was doing some research on this little thing I was saying that here. The difficulty that people in Bridgeville had for half a century. One of the first things is, as we all know, the traffic congestion, the solution to the traffic congestion problem on Washington Avenue is the responsibility of PennDOT, not Bridgeville. But you guys have got to put the heat on and tell them you want the problem. In my opinion, when I-79 was built to Bridgeville, Collier, and Lafayette, PennDOT quietly did nothing to solve the traffic congestion problem along the Washington Pike corridor because they didn't want us competing with the Route 19 business district in Mount London and Upper St. Clair, parallel and only 4 miles away. And anyway, here's some other things that sort of bothered me. Some of the people told me, and I think I recall, that the residents in Bridgeville for something like 50 to 75 years were breathing toxic fumes from the former cyanamide and coppers factory. And it was west of, in Southfield, west of Bridgeville, and the west winds obviously carried it all people here. I think I found an article when it ended one morning when I think 5 football fields of people in Bridgeville woke up to their snow-covered lawns and rooftops and found out that they all had toxic green residue over top of them, and then there was some control over that. The additional decades cement company that's been located in the town. I guess that's been subdued to some extent, or maybe totally. I don't know. I remember, I forget who the fellow was who filed a lawsuit and bringing the attention to the people of the newspaper. The other thing in terms of health handicap, air pollution over the last 50 years from just the stacked traffic on the miles of roads in Bridgeville. Again, the main roads in Bridgeville, Washington Pike is in the near the western edge of the community, and the wind carries everything for our people. And the point I'm trying to make is the effect on the health of these people was indicated in the death certificates that I looked over for 25 years as the owner of a funeral home in Bridgeville. When I tried to, these conditions definitely shortened the lifespans of the people, and there was a considerable number of people whose causes of death were pulmonary problems and cancer. And finally, the rest of the data that I gave you. I'd like you guys, I emphasized several times, and I don't know if you fully understood me, but trying to get millions of dollars for projects that are only good for Bridgeville is not going to be looked at as favorably from the federal, state, and county funding people, in contrast to you're developing, for example, a traffic congestion, a solution to the traffic congestion problem, like this one. I think I gave you guys a plan. That's where you extend Shady Avenue 220 yards, and you add another lane on Washington. You had 2 lanes on Washington Pike from the Barger Road intersection to the Presley Road intersection. And in terms of developing another business district that can produce the tax revenues that we need, by doing what the young lady suggested, who was our flood solution woman, that would be move the traffic onto Baldwin Street. And what I'm suggesting is that's a great idea. By making Baldwin from the Barger Road, Railroad Street intersection, to make a ramp, down ramp. Baldwin Street's only 8 feet below that intersection, by the way, which is not much at all. Making Baldwin Street 2 lanes going east, making Barger Road from the Rockland intersection 2 lanes going west, and the people on Cook School Road, the Rockland Road, and Barger Road, and Scott Township, and Upper St. Clair, I'm sure would support it. I think if you take an aggressive move like this, a 3-community solution like this, I think I'm sure you'll get support from all 3 communities. And finally, excuse me, in terms of, by the way, I mentioned, I've showed you this guys a couple of times. We discussed this at the Planning Commission last month. This has always been the excuse that PennDOT and everybody else has used as why they couldn't add 2 more lanes to Washington Avenue between the Barger Road intersection and the Preston Road intersection. That's the 100-year-old steel beam bridge, railroad bridge over the top of Washington Avenue. This plan that I have, I showed to a PennDOT engineer. He said it was a better idea than they had, and it drops the cost to 1/3 of what a different type of bridge would be. And the other, finally,
Can I interrupt you for a second?
sir,
You had said that South Fayette and Collier, I'm assuming, other communities
right.
would be in favor. How would they assist something in Bridgeville? You say
I don't know.
they would help pay for it?
I have no idea. Matter of fact, I would
Well, your
suggest.
statement was that they would. So I'm just trying to
No,
understand what you mean.
when I said they would, I would say they would politically support it. I'll tell you what the problem's been. Excuse me. Stop being so modest and conservative in what you ask the federal, state, and county funding agencies for. In other words, if you develop a plan like this, and in the list that I gave you, and I don't know if you ever got it, I itemized every feature on that plan to build something like this and other improvements in the community. Get the damn cost estimates so we can put them together and approach these agencies in the correct way.
Can I ask you a few more questions if I
Certainly.
can? So, the extension of Shady, you had said that wouldn't affect any buildings. Correct me if I'm wrong, it would knock down part of the old Calusi historical building, correct?
No, I never said it wouldn't affect any.
Okay.
What-
So then
let me
there's
correct you.
taxable, let me, if I can finish my
I
question.
said it wouldn't affect any homes.
Okay,
on Shady.
well, and there you go, you corrected yourself on that.
Good.
So what happens to Moore Street, those 3 or 4 homes that are on that street?
To where?
Moore Street? There are homes on that street that would be probably
I don't know.
affected by those?
I don't know, what street is that?
Is that correct, Gary, or those properties? There's a street, Moore Street, that has 4
Oh,
or 5
Moore,
houses.
Moore, that would be the extension of Shady Avenue.
Correct.
No,
So those houses would be affected, wouldn't they?
only one of them.
Well, you said there would be no residential homes that would be affected.
Well, I wasn't exactly. There will be a
Okay.
comment. I'll tell you what you and some of the other council members start doing.
Well, I'm just trying to understand what you're saying, so I'm asking questions.
Yeah, but this is the same theory that you proposed twice before at the meeting I met.
Well,
You
these
know what,
questions-
let me finish, will you?
No, let me finish. You've gone over this about 30 times, so I'm just asking questions to make sure that I understand what you're proposing. I'm trying to understand what would happen to the Moore Street, what would happen to the Calusi building, what would happen to the, is there enough of a radius for a truck to go through your one-way turn, or will we have to change those?
85-foot radiuses are more than adequate.
Okay, and that was the question I had. so
Okay, matter of
that's
fact,
why I
I want to answer one of your questions, but for the benefit of the listeners. To extend Shady Avenue so it could become one of the 2 3-lane wide main streets in Bridgeville, you have to cut off about 50 feet of the Calusi building, which is a 100-year-old warehouse, which you could care to them, they could care less about.
Well, I would disagree with Mr. Polino's thoughts on, doesn't he use that as storage?
Well, I'd like,
For part of his business?
maybe he does, but the owner of the building, the owner of the building, and I discussed it, he said they're just holding on to it for personal family reasons. Excuse me, this is the point I want to get to. If you go through important capital projects that the people in Bridgeville needed that came to have an expanded business district, if you go back to the Bridgeville officials opposing it, some of you guys have opposed it because you didn't want to offend the people and the families whose property you were taking, even though it's called eminent domain. If you aren't enthusiastic about buying essential property for the other 5,000 people in the town, more than you are the 3 or 4 friends of yours, you're making a mistake. That's irresponsible. Okay. One more thing I want to mention, and I'm sitting down. Roads, the bridge, this is the parking. And some more, I don't see Moore Street. Oh yeah, Moore Street is the one here, if I'm calling it correctly. Excuse me, this is the 3-lane Shady Avenue. This is the 220-yard extension. This is the 3-lane Washington Avenue. This would be a better business district in terms of consumer motorists driving than they have in Mount Lebanon, because Mount Lebanon doesn't have a parallel road. Well, they have in Cannonsburg, because Cannonsburg doesn't have a parallel road like this. The other thing is, Shady Avenue is half a block away from Washington Avenue, which typically these streets, like in Croyopolis, for example, they're a full block away. Bridgeville would have 2 major loop rounds, very convenient for the consumer motorists. And Joe, in terms of, excuse me.
Hey, Bob, let's get it.
Okay, well, I just wanted to point out, this is the extension Joe was talking about. I've talked to this person, he just put $100,000 in that home, and I told him to hold on to it because someday $10 might buy it from him. But like, the point is, when you have problems, for example, a councilman mentioned about this parking lot next to the Commonwealth Bank that the Arco building owners just bought for $170,000. excuse me, someone mentioned that they talked to the owner of the adjacent property, the Dreon family, and they don't want to sell the property. It doesn't matter if they don't want to sell the property. Your job is to look out for the 5,000 people in the town, especially when the property owner is going to get 15% more than the property's worth. And in that instance, it's going to double the income in the Dreon building where there's several vacancies.
Okay.
I'm completed. Thanks for your
Thanks. Mr. Petroselli.
Yes, I only have three issues to resolve this problem. That's okay, I can stand here. Number one is dogs. It seems like Bridgeville is becoming a dog park, especially in my street anyway. And I would like to know what I can do about it to stop them. And number two, we have a garbage problem. Seems to me that the company don't really care who they hire, because I find garbage in my yard after they dumped it, especially the recycling.
What's your
So it's on my street, 272 Eisenhower.
I did
So I picked up
call,
about 15, 20 bottles.
I did call you right away on that.
Yes, you did.
When they left, yeah, I called you. And I already told you, see, you're gonna call them and pick it up. But the property owner, you already did pick them up.
Right, and I did send an email and let them know that there was garbage on the road
So-
and in the yard, and that his property owner did pick it up. But I wasn't fine.
In terms of the garbage, I can tell you that we have had concerns as well for a year. And we have met with the garbage company beginning this past month, and we will meet with them monthly to discuss their performance and evaluate whether we're going to continue with them. One of the things that was encouraging was from November into January, December, January, the complaints that we received went from 70 some in November down to 13 or something in January. And so they're responding anyway. I would encourage you that if you do continue to have problems, call down here, and we're documenting every complaint that we get. And during our monthly meetings, that is part of the performance evaluation we are considering with them. So, yeah, I appreciate it.
Remember Wednesday, they're from New York. So, you know what I mean? Number three, the streets are in bad shape, especially in the neighborhood. The main streets are okay. But in the neighborhood streets, they're becoming, I mean, there's a lot of patches that I see is being done. And I know this is bad time to do it.
So I saw on the Public Works, or the engineer's report, that next month we're meeting to discuss our road pavement program. Is that correct?
We did already.
Okay. Yep.
I will announce that in my report.
Okay.
Oh, and one more just came to mind. Presley Road, up on top. You need a four-way stop sign. Okay? Because people, right now it's 35 miles an hour. I think you should bring it down to 25. Probably even lower than that.
Yes, it is a state road, I believe.
Yeah.
Anything done on it would require the state.
I mean, people go straight from, to that shortcut, I call it a shortcut, I don't know what the name of that street is. They go 40, 50 miles an hour. So, something has to be done.
So I know we've placed a bunch of signage up there, right?
Yes. Yeah, we put them on the floor, on the
Buses.
I mean, on the road, we put, on the full stop sign would be, I think I mentioned.
Well, it's either that or we put a traffic light, how's that?
Yeah, well, that's another, that's not.
Whichever's easier.
What do they cost, quarter of a million?
Pardon me?
What's a traffic light cost nowadays?
Oh,
Quarter of a
good.
million, something like that.
Oh, I just remember something. On the dog park, I think, is the media here? No. Newspaper, Bridgeville News.
New York Times.
I think what they need to do on the Bridgeville News is put in bold letters. So do not take your dog on other people's property. There's a lot of dog lovers. I'm not one of them. I was attacked, not attacked, but I was confronted with 5 dogs. So I could care less for them.
You could put a sign on your property, dog, don't allow it.
Well, the penalty has to be up to $1,000. That's the only way they're gonna listen. Now, they say, oh, but they carry it back, big deal. If nobody's around, they go like this. Nobody. Just walk away. I think there should be some steps that you would take care of it, you know?
Well, it's part of our ordinance, right? They have to maintain their.
Yeah. You have to clean out your dog within 24 hours in your yard, and you can't dogs on other people's property. We can send out notifications, and if you notice who it is that.
Well, I get a camera and I'll catch them, believe me,
And
sooner or
then
later.
we can notify them, I've done that before. So,
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, on with business. I need a motion to approve the January 6, 2020 reorganization regular meeting minutes as submitted. So moved. Second. Bruce, Yamaguchi, and Nino. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. Need a motion to approve the February 2020 bill list. I'll move it.
Second.
Joe Verducci and BJ, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Need a motion to approve the February 14th, 21st, 28th, and March 6th, 2020 payrolls. So moved.
Second.
Bruce and Nino, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Need a motion to adopt resolution number 2020-01, authorizing the President of Council to sign the First Amendment to contribution agreement number 119556A between the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Department of Transportation and Bridgeville Borough for the department's roadway and bridge widening improvements on State Route 50, which is Washington Avenue, and State Route 3034, which is Chartier Street project. Under remarks, no monetary contributions will be provided by the Borough of Bridgeville for construction of the wall, and upon completion, the borough will assume ownership and all maintenance responsibilities.
Yes, so moved.
Second.
Nino and Joe, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Need a motion to approve the request from Select Contracting LLC for partial payment number 4 and final in the amount of $16,488 for the borough's share of CD 45 7.2 McLaughlin Run Park EDA restroom renovation project to be made by the Char West Council of Governments. Under remarks, a check was cut out of the 2019 budget in the amount of $12,446, and the balance of $4,042 will be issued out of the 2020 budget. Joe, I'll second. And Joe. All in favor?
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, this is for the valves that it was done on my street as well, on Railroad Street.
that's for the welcome.
Oh, thank you. Because that one, I want to state for the simple reason that I was one of the people who they did the work. Okay. Got a little confused.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Need a motion to approve the request for remittal of partial payment number 2, contract number 19-S1, backwater valve contract phase 2 to Osiris Enterprise Incorporated in the amount of $75,636.15 for work completed to date. Under remarks, the estimate has been reviewed and approved by engineer Brett.
Now, that's the one I do like to abstain, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I abstain for that simple reason. I was one of the property owners that this was installed. I abstain for that.
You want to think? Yes.
I understand, I'm a recipient.
Okay, so Nick and Nino have abstained. All in favor?
Second.
No, I don't need a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Joe. Should I take a roll call on this? Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. I need a motion to accept and pay any commission due the January 2020 real estate tax collectors report. I'll move.
Second. Good.
Joe and BJ, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. A motion to accept the December 2019 treasurer's report. I'll move. Joe, second. And Bruce, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. I need a motion to accept the December 2019 and January 2020 police reports. So moved.
Second.
Bruce and Joe Colosimo, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Need a motion to accept the February 2020 zoning report.
That's so moved.
Second. And Bruce Gallarducci, second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, on the committee reports. Administration. Virginia.
Thanks, Bill. So the committee, as well as Lori, Borough Manager, is focused currently on identifying efficiency opportunities to enhance and improve the business operations of the office. And in doing so, we have all elected to invest in the continuing education for the council members as well as the staff to attend the Allegheny League of Municipalities Spring Conference called ALOM. Just for your knowledge, their mission is to foster local government in Allegheny County and southwestern Pennsylvania by educating elected officials, delivering essential resources, and advocating for sound policy and legislation. So we really think they're helping the public servants help make better choices and help the communities to be better. And on that note, we're continually seeking professional development opportunities for our administrative staff, Cheryl Valentino. And there are some webinars that are available. And there's a series of them that they're interested in, the role of the municipal secretary and administrator. And it covers topics such as requirements, best practices for meetings, minutes, public notices, ordinances, record management, state reporting, Sunshine Act, and Open Act records. And lastly, we're exploring ideas, and the committee met with Lori about ideas and options to upgrade the safety of the municipal staff within the borough building itself. So she states that Engineer Brett Lennon Smith has worked on projects like this before and are familiar with it. So we're looking at, other ways for the staff to be safe. I don't know what's going on.
Safety.
I know. Speaking of safety, right? So that's what I have for this one.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Apparently we have a public safety issue right now.
There's a pedestrian who was hit personally in Washington. Hit by a vehicle, did fall, and is currently alert and breathing.
Let's move on to the finance. Reduce.
We no real expenses that are out of the ordinary for January, other than we had a certain building that was knocked down. It's rather close to this building, but that was in 2019 budget, and we've already taken care of those checks. It's just a matter of payments, correct? Correct. So those are all taken care of. We obviously are starting in 2020 in regards to taxes. We have collected a little bit again in January. Where if we could possibly get an updated list on what was due from 2019 still.
Absolutely.
We're in the process of scheduling a committee meeting in the near future. That would be one of the things that we wanted to talk about, as well as the audit that's coming up in the near future as well. So I think that's about it.
Sir. Thanks, Joe. Parks and Recreation.
We've been talking for several months about work down in McLaughlin and talking about Chartiers. Everything sort of came to a head today. Lori's been in conversation with the engineers. They got the plans going for McLaughlin Park, and it's got to be bid this spring, so we're going to have a meeting on that. very directly, very quickly. Also, Chartiers Park, we are going to be applying for a grant for the bank stabilization down there, and maybe some parking lot work and hopefully some road work down there. And that particular grant's due April 22nd, so the next couple of weeks we're going to have a meeting with the Parks Committee and Lori and the engineer when they get all their information together, and we shall go ahead and have that. Hopefully we're going to get some good news and get things going down in the parks. That's all I have.
Thanks, Joe. Public Works, Nino?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you notice, we have a little bit of snow a couple of days ago, and our public work was on the ball, excuse the term, but they were there. And my cousin, Petruccelli, called me, my street is not clean. I said, you don't live on a hill. We do the forehill first. We have to suffer on the smoother, on the level part. But they take care of it well. Go back on the meeting with the engineer. I'm only covering the public work. There were other conversations. We had a meeting on the road program in January. It was the engineer, all four engineers. I had to get the bill on that one. And every one of them had a different role in their company. And there was one of the most good meetings I ever had with an engineer firm. We are revamping the wheel on the road. We did have an inventory years and years ago, and the borough manager was so kind to bring that up again. And we revamped the wheel. I said, so they're gonna take some inventory with or the bed road now. And I hope that we can go back on our, whenever that road's coming, we'll do it. They'll take a while. So when I first got in council, I said, I started that, and said, it's gonna be a 20-year program. Actually, I said 15. But in 20 years, every single road in Bridgeville was done. And we'll redo it as the time comes. We try to get back on that. It's not gonna be for a while, because for a while they let that go. No fault of the administration or the public work. It's just the way the weather and the flood, those things always push you back on a lot of things. Nothing we can do about it. So I was very happy with the meeting. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Public safety, Bruce. I don't have anything, Mr. President. Okay. Thank you. Mayor?
Thank you. Last Thursday, I had the opportunity to speak to the Coast Guard station here, and Chief King accompanied me. It was because of Black History Month, they asked me to speak. And it was odd to me, of course, that there are no active Coast Guardmen right now that are African American. Also, I'm speaking to a room full of 27 men. The one woman was on leave, so that was quite interesting to have them sitting there looking at me like they were really into what I was saying. That was quite an interesting experience. The fire department has their fish flies coming up. February 28th is the first one, March 27th, April 10th at 4:00 p.m. And also, Assistant Fire Chief Mike Megland and his wife welcomed into the family baby Logan David Megland, weighing 9 pounds, 3 ounces, 22 inches. We're happy about that.
Thank you. Chief.
Thanks, Council President. Just got word a pedestrian was struck by a motor vehicle on Washington Avenue, so everybody had to rush out of here. But according to dispatch, the pedestrian is conscious and alert, so apparently it's not as bad as what was originally thought. What I have tonight are the stats from 2019, as promised from last month. In the year of 2019, we responded to 3,284 calls. We made 243 arrests and filed over 400 criminal charges. Out of those 243 arrests, 119 19 were drug-related, 73 were DUIs, 7 of those were retail thefts. The important thing about the retail thefts is that we did not have a loss prevention officer in Rite Aid until, I believe, December. So about 1 month's time, we made 7 retail theft arrests once he returned. We had 10 drug overdoses. 5 of those individuals were saved with Narcan. And we had a total of 416 traffic citations issued. 108 out of those were for speeding, and 24 of those were for school bus violations. That's all I have.
That's enough.
Yeah, busy. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Solicitor.
Thank you. Here my written report. Just a couple notes. We're working with Kevin's office to try to procure some orphan parcels with the permits they need for the Rockland Park project. And all that not in the report, we are also doing work and follow up with the demolition on trying to work with Lori to vacate the tip of Florida. Aside from that, I would request an executive session so we can discuss personal items and a potential
One question on those parcels that we're talking about. How much of a delay is that going to impose on the project?
I don't think that it should impose any delay. I've been talking to John, and they still have independent engineering. This goes to title certification. I guess there's additional stuff they need to complete along the same timeline. It gives me still some time to do that. I'm trying to determine right now with the title pricing how to procure this one property because it's actually an unassessed orphan property. If we can do it by if we're able to do it by one mechanism, fairly quickly. Another one, a 30-day window from the time I file something to where you could lawfully enter the property to actually do construction or to give you a certified ownership of it. Okay. And I think that works with your window.
Yeah, that will.
So I'll know within, I hope to know by early next week which one to proceed with as we have to go through.
Okay, thank you.
There's a number of other actual orphans and non-orphans around there at the same time. So there's one other one not in the project area itself that doesn't add to it, so we try to get that one by the same mechanism. There's a couple other parcels around the ring there too that we're researching and trying to get quickly.
How does that happen? How does this stuff just pop up, you know?
Well, it's almost like surveying. If you took all the ancient surveys and put them together, the ball would be quite right. And I don't know how it happens, but in the universe of all the properties, you put all the properties together in a map of the county.
There's a piece nobody knows.
And there's pieces that,
It's like,
and if you went way back when, somebody may have owned, somebody may have not, or there may be a true, actually gap of, I don't know what happens if you step into it, you end up with a black hole. I'm not sure.
throw a hole in it and find out. Yeah, right. If you hit any.
But I think it's a process of establishing a number for it and moving on.
All right, thanks, Tom. Borough Engineer, Kevin.
Yes, we did submit a report dated February 6th. A couple quick updates, and then if it's the board's pleasure, I would like to do your MS4 training tonight. Take about 5 minutes, and I'll get the punchline on why I want to do that. The DEP is fairly active right now. 2020 road program, we do anticipate opening bids on April 8th. I'll be sending out the list as well as we are going to do a quick road review of all the roads in the borough and come up with that list so we can get a good long-term plan. 2019 roads, we'll get a schedule from them probably in March, and I would say mid-April, we're going to be finished by May. The project we were just talking about, we did resubmit on the track and the field to DEP about a week and a half ago. We do expect comments back. This is the first technical review that they had given prior engineer comments on. We did go meet with DEP, did work out the majority of the items, but since this is the first time they've seen some of these calculations, I do expect to get one more round of comments and then we would get the permit. We have addressed everything. A few of the areas, especially with the trash rack, they're not a gigantic fan of these. you'll have some comments on the maintenance of them, how you're getting in and out, and what that means. So I would think we'll hear back from them in 45 days. We did talk to the county and see if we could split up the projects, because you got grants for those. They said they don't want us to, they want us to bid the projects all as one. Both the field work, the trash rack, and James Street, you didn't get as much funding as you had asked for. So the culvert cleaning, I believe you're talking about doing that in-house.
Right.
So we can move forward with that, because that permit's been issued, so as soon as the weather permits.
Mm-hmm. And Bill Body, handling machine is off right now. And that would probably work for when he gets back.
Gets back.
Right.
Perfect. So those permits are in play. And
So you're anticipating the one for the trash rack, 45 days, it takes you to the end of March?
Yeah,
So
I
you're
would say
thinking-
by June, we'll be bid. They will have a permit. They know this is critical, that you want to get the projects built, and get that process moving. But I would say it's going to take them this permit cycle, and then we'll get some comments, we'll address those, and then you'll get the permit.
The reason for all the delays again was that now it's to the calculation parts?
Well, the initial permit that was submitted was a small project permit, only had a piece of what the Chapter 105 required. The comments that you had gotten back in December, roughly, were very clear to us that they were not going to accept that, that they wanted the full-blown permit submitted. So we went down and met with them, and that's what they wanted, and we didn't fill out the rest of that stuff. We got all the information from your previous engineer, and we're going to take it from this point.
What was the point of us doing the smaller version?
I believe they had an initial meeting with the department, and some of the folks at the department kind of led them to believe that that was going to be able. That when you look at the regs straight up for what they are, it's very unusual that they would let you do just a piece of it. You have to do the whole submittal. That's been our experience. Even on something as simple in the stream as if you did a stream crossing with stepping stones, they've made us do full-blown permit for that, and not just the partial. Even though it's a very minor impact of the stream. So we looked at what all you were doing and what the calculations were showing. We were pretty comfortable you're going to have to do it.
It's just frustrating. We sat at a long table there 18 months ago, if not longer, and they knew everything. We met with the county, and they knew exactly what we were doing, and gave advice at that time.
And I think the
And all of a
difference
sudden
is
now they're changing.
it's the county versus the DEP. When you get into these joint permits, I think the county all along has been really cooperative in this matter. But the department has a very narrow view of the regulations, and they interpret the same throughout. Like I said, even down to just stepping stones of a 2x2, we had to do a full joint permit on that, and a couple other municipalities. So whenever you're thinking about putting a rate basically up in the air, then they had an issue with that. They had an issue too in the end. We're really worried that things would get pinned in it, and water would flow over. So our design is a little different than that. We have to be able to move an angle now, so that the water can still flow over, but the trash will get grabbed.
That was the field, right?
Yeah. So we changed that, and actually we get into one of the DEP's comments were, do you impact some of these other parcels? And the answer was yes. And then the way the model runs, there's these couple of parcels we've got on, and you need to resolve that, or else they can't issue the permit. So the two things will run simultaneous. We meet with DEP often, so we'll keep up the pressure to make sure that we have a good exchange of information. If they need something else, I'm sure they'll call us.
So we put it out to bid in June. What is that, 30-day turnaround?
Yeah, it's GEDF. We did go through the first couple of training sessions on these. This funding, you have to have to do a notice for minority participation. That has to happen before you do your ad and things. It's state bacon wages, which means the county has to apply for those. So that process on my end, once I know DEP is going to issue the permit, it's about a 60-day process, but we'll start that as soon as we hear that they're going to issue the permit, because there's some paperwork we just got to send out to a lot of people in order to make notice of this project. And then we did the wage rates. We have certification that the minorities have been notified, and then minority firms have a special kickoff meeting on this, and we'll go down and we'll talk about the project and how it's going to be bid. But since we had them on these couple other ones, we did ask them to split it, and said that they don't want to see that because it came as one fund, and they don't want to separate it in different ways. So
I'm sorry, one last question. So when we're doing that whole process, that takes you into August, and that's when, and I always forget the letters, DE, what's the,
GED.
thank you, GEDF. That's when they announce in August around when there's possible additional funding that we can put towards it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's, you actually applied for additional funding through the CFA. We have some H2O and CFA funding. I actually got word this week, July 10th roughly is when they're going to make their decision on that funding. So if you've got additional funding, some of these other projects could be on that list. So,
Which could help us delay if not have to do the one.
And we can
It kind of
also,
ties it all together.
we can also apply again for the retaining walls.
yes,
Yes. Because we weren't awarded.
if we were successful with those.
But we're going to move forward with Maple Street, right? Because that's a minimal cost.
That's
It's a small cost and a big impact.
As we mentioned in our meeting with your staff, is this will incorporate the lowering the park as well, or they come in the next phase?
No, it
It's only one time.
It's all one time. Yeah, the trash rack and lowering the park is all the
It's
same.
all one. It's all one permit.
It has to be together.
Okay.
In January too.
I just want. I know, but I just want to make that on record.
In the January ramp.
In January ramp up, so all three of those factors.
And strange as it is, what happens in the model, you get a decrease in elevation upstream, like right after the mouth of the park. But when it goes back into the stream, you're getting a hydraulic jump right there. So that's where the grade actually goes up. When we let the stream in, it goes back down to normal. But that's what the EP's concern was. That shows up in the model. So that's what we had to address. So, and it took some doing to get the calculations done.
So what you're trying to do is you explain to us that you uncover all these situations so they don't come back to us.
Right.
You want to mention some other thing with the property owners. We have to protect them in some way. And right, come from you, not from me. I think we'll get involved.
Once the EP does weigh in on this final, that you're going to get this permit, we have a model built with all these different improvements right now that we walk through, you have permitted, and then we're going to have suggestions on the next steps, whether it be on Baldwin Street, whether it be a new conveyance, whether it be take out the bridge, just put a different bridge in. All those things, we have different ideas in the model. We're also looking at the wall below this building, which at this point is going to go from the basic bridge all the way down and connected with the railroad trestle. And that would include some flood pumps in this area that you would pump up over. That does increase a bit the height of the water in the stream, but not where it comes out of the bank. So we're working through that model now. We pick up a little bit more surveys. That'll be one that you're going to apply for. Once you have a study done, you can apply for federal. To build that, it's considered a levy at that point. So it would be multiple stage, but you'd be able to apply for funding today, you can't apply for it because it hasn't been studied. The same way with the stuff on Baldwin Street. Once we get that model completed with the other stuff in, you can apply for other funding sources through FEMA. But today you can't apply for it because that section hadn't been modeled with new solutions. So it'll be a process this year, but by the end of the year, you'll know what the solutions are. It may take 10 years, like we talked before, but over time, you'll be able to solve this issue for the downtown area. And it's going to be a multiple solution. I'm positive this area down here, we need flood pumps on the bottom section. We have a court office actually. They have the lower section of town was flooded. They have screw pumps they got, and they pump over into the aisle because it's too much. And it is very simple technology. It works incredibly well. They move a lot of water quickly, what you need in a flood situation. So we will get there on solving this issue. So,
But correct me if I'm wrong, that turn behind it there, like making that instead of a 90-degree turn, rounding it off is going to help.
That's going to help. There's 3 structures in there. None of them are very hydraulics. The first one is you have, of course, the bridge, the Little County Bridge, and there's the pier metal. Everything falls in it. It needs to be just one structure, no pier. That's a big number. That's an SPC item. I want to work with the county, push to get that changed out. The next one is a railroad bridge. Their trestle, it needs fixed long term, and then the 2 culverts in the end would need fixed. If those are back in water upstream, down below, protect this side of town by a levee and pump. So those are 2 different problems, 2 different funds actually. We're looking to work through that. We're also taking a look at, we've had a few meetings again to talk about your long-term plan for the different corridors, your business district along Baldwin, certain homes and stuff. Do you have a grant in for to take down the businesses that were damaged in the floods? We have all those on a map now, your GIS map. As we get through this modeling, we'll try to incorporate your vision for what the overlay of the community is supposed to be from a parking, landscaping, business perspective, where the roads want to be, and see how that meshes in, so we can give you some suggestions there as far as flooding versus parking, things like that. So we piece that together as we go. But there's no sense doing any of that right now, beyond where we're at, until we know DEP's going to approve this first piece. The other pieces we got to approve now, and then we'll fill in the blanks in between. So, thank you. Last item is your training. I'm going to hand this out. I almost want to take only 5 minutes. Everybody can sign in. Everybody gets one of these beautiful handouts. Okay. If you don't know, every year, Council Planning Commission will do this planning commission. Everybody that works for the borough has to have training on MS tours. Part of the thing the DEP does when they come out and do your audit is they want to make sure that this training has happened, and they'll actually look for this document that we have handed it out and everybody signed in, and we went through it. Question routinely asked is, are we going to see an audit, and when do you think we'll see it? We actually got our first calls 2 weeks ago for the second permit cycle, which is the permit cycle you're in now. DEP has started their audits, and they are coming out to the communities. They are a little bit more stringent than the last round. The last round was very educational and helpful to the communities. This round, they're being a little more stringent on the checklist. If somebody did have a violation, I think they would be back, from what we understand, and do a re-inspection within 30 days. If you didn't correct whatever your violation was, then you would actually get a penalty. In this cycle, the representative that was doing the first couple, we asked him if that's happened. He's indicated yes. He's had inspections in his communities that weren't complying with their permit, and that he's headed back, and he thinks if they haven't, then there would be penalties issued. He himself had written some penalties and notice of violations. So different than last time, whenever I could tell the communities I didn't think there were any violations. This time, we want to make sure everything's the way it should be, and your record keeping and so forth matches with what's required. So we will come out and do a mock audit over the next month, meet with your staff again. We'll run through the checklist that he has and make sure that everybody's got all the paperwork in order. And we'll go take a quick look at your facilities, again, to suggest anything that we would see, to say, hey, take care of this, take care of that, before you would actually get an inspection. So the agenda for tonight is just permit overview, the timeline, annual WEMIS forecast, which were stormwater management program, pollution control measures, your pollution reduction plans, and your compliance, your annual report, and what your current permit cycle is, which is 2018. If you remember, we did submit a grant for a special sweeper last year, because one of your requirements that's in your pollution reduction plan is you're going to do street sweeping. Over this year, we are going to take a look at your plan, because that's very onerous long term for the municipality that have to do the amount of street sweeping and the amount of tracking of that. We're going to see if we can get some B&Bs that are rain gardens, things like that, where you can build and cut down the amount of maintenance, because street sweepers are $300,000-$400,000, and you're gonna get through one every 10 years because of the nature and the amount of sweeping. It's a significant amount in comparison to what you did before. It's not that you don't want to have a clean municipality and clean streets, it's just their requirement to meet that long term. It's just a tremendous amount of wear and tear on a piece of equipment that may be hard long term to keep up with. So we're going to look at some other options for you there as well. The permit overview, MS4, it's municipal separate storm sewer system. MS4 is the term everybody uses. It applies to all your separate stormwater systems which you have. It's to collect and convey stormwater owned by the municipality. You have your own permit here in the borough, and PADP issues the permit. The goal under the permit, everybody says, what's it for? It's for water quality. One of the main things you see here as a problem is you got so much sediment in the stream. The idea behind this permit is to limit the amount of sediment that goes into the streams so that you have the capacity in the stream that you're supposed to. So you actually see the remnants of upstream communities that have a tremendous amount of erosion that ends up dropping out in the streams throughout the borough. Timeline. Everybody says, when did this all start? Why do I have to do it? It started in 1972. I think it was under President Nixon, if I remember right, and it was because of Hurricane Agnes. Hurricane Agnes came through, they immediately passed the Clean Water Act, and it had the MPDS regulations as we see it today. They were framed out in the original document. 1990, phase 1 was passed, which was communities 250,000 and more, or populations greater of 100,000 for MS4s. There was only 2 cities in Pennsylvania at that time that had a permit. 2003, phase 2 come out, and that's when all the communities locally got in. If you had an urbanized area, which you're in, and everybody got put into the MS4 program in 2003. It was administratively extended through 2013. It's supposed to be a 5-year permit. It went for almost 9 years. Then in 2013, new instructions come out. 2018, the third permit cycle came out. And as part of the third permit cycle, you had to do a pollution reduction plan. Your pollution reduction plan was catch basin cleaning and street sweeping. Catch basin cleaning, you have to weigh it. It sounds like an easy item, but if you say you're going to take out 3 tons of debris a year, in order to qualify for catch basin cleaning, you have to weigh it. We don't like that as an item for the communities. We want you to clean your catch basin, but on its face, if you have to weigh it and you can't possibly get to that tonnage, then it's a negative for you because you won't ever be able to meet your permit. Rain gardens and things like that are prescriptive. If you design it for the criteria, you build it to the size it's supposed to be built, and you maintain it, you don't ever have to do anything additional for meeting this permit requirement. Currently, this 5-year permit, you have to sweep so much and take out so much debris out of the catch basin. Long term, you can never meet that requirement, I don't believe. So, like I said, we are going to work to change that so you have some things, and it's aesthetically pleasing anyway. I mean, you have a lot of areas that we can hopefully put things in. You have things in the borough over here that don't make sense to build, so you don't have to keep doing that requirement. 2023, that's when the permit expires. You have to meet your requirements within the permit for your pollution reduction plan. The question we get is this going to continue? And the answer is yes. The state of Maryland's at 25 or 30 years. They've been doing this. I expect this to be at least a 50-year program. Every year they're going to have at least a 10% reduction for sediment, which again, you're one of the communities that I know you need that reduction from the communities upstream because you want less debris in your streams. So it's a good thing for you long term. Another question I get asked a lot, does this actually work? The answer is, yeah, it's one of the few regulations I see is going to make a big impact on how clean the streams are and flooding. Because long term it's going to address a significant amount of flooding in the area. On page 3, we list out what the MCMs are. This was part of the initial program in 2003. You have a written plan, and there's 6 minimum control measures in it. We will meet with your staff and go through those items. If you you have any questions on those, please feel free to email me. Each one of those I can talk for 10 minutes, which I'm working on. Next is page 4. Is through what MCM number 1 and 2. They do look at this. You guys have been very good about it. Nice part of this. You have to have public education. You have to have public involvement. That's part of your planning commission. It's part of your different boards where you have articles about MS4 and stormwater. So if you have a newsletter, if you have something in the community, Rotary Club meeting, whatever, we recommend all those things that you try to have something. You have a public statement in about stormwater. We can help you with that. We put together articles all the time. So if you have a newsletter going out and you don't have an idea of what you want to put in it, please call Sean and he'll fix you up on what to put in. MCM number 3 is all your alcohols have to be tested once every 5 years, 20% per year, and check it for is there anything that's illicit in it, which can be somebody dumps something, it could be sewage, about 15 different parameters we check. And that is done over the summer months, 48 hours after a rain event. Construction sites, stormwater runoff, you have an ordinance in place to take care of that. Item 5 is post-construction, stormwater runoff. Again, you have ordinances in place to implement those. The last item is MCM 6, pollution prevention, the housekeeping. That's everything that the Borough Public Works does. You have to have a written plan on how they do go about their business, how they clean things, where they dispose things, do they have their oil kept in the right type of containers, things like that. We will take a look at that if your written plan isn't up to date on that. When Sean comes out and does the audit, we'll update that for you pretty quick. We have a standard that we use for the communities. I don't know if you have fuel, you do gas and stuff. Good, because that's a requirement when you have to do that. So, next is pollution control measures. As part of the current permit cycle, there's different things that had to be identified last year and then this year. And a heavy check for metals, pathogens, and organic PCBs. The Ohio River has a PCB limit on it. What they're doing is having all the communities look and see, did you have an industrial facility within your community that could have had these agents in it? If you did, we'll get it onto a map, and then the next permit cycle, they're going to have people that have known the existence of it, and you'll have to have a plan to address that. Majority of the communities do not have that. Next is, on page 6, the PRP plans. We already talked about that, what yours is. VMPs and annual reporting. One of the things, and we'll work with Lori on this, is the department wants to make sure that the programs are being budgeted for and programmed. One thing they don't want to see is if you're supposed to be allocating and doing work that equals $100,000 or $200,000 a year, that we get to year 4 and you haven't spent anything on MS4s and you haven't done any projects. If they see that, they're going to kick the communities into an individual permit, which means you'll have more requirements. So I think that's why they're coming out in year 2, starting the audits, so they can see if the communities are doing what they're supposed to do. Your annual report last year was fine. We sent it in. This year you'll have more things that you've accomplished. All those things will be listed, and we'll make sure we work with you to get maintain permit compliance in that case. We do have some communities that have difficulty funding these programs, so they can't do it through taxes, so they implement the stormwater fees. Boroughs right now cannot, but I do expect over the next 6 to 8 months, the legislation sitting there, that if it passes, then we have a number of boroughs that will look at a stormwater fee as a utility that goes on the property. So townships can do that second class. The majority of ours have already passed that because their amount for their programs is in the millions, so they can fund a lot of taxes. So they have all passed stormwater fees at this point for the most part. Next is on page 7. Annual reports, I talked about that. They're now due September 30th. They did change to there's now a $500 fee every year. That used to be $500 every 5 years. Now it's 500 every year. Hitting again on the inspections, there's two types. There's DEP. DEP is required under the permit to come out once every 5 years and follow up as necessary. EPA has not been in the western half very much. They've been in the eastern half a lot. There's been a lot of fines in the eastern half. So right now, the department has not had EPA come in on the communities that we're aware of in the western half. Any questions? You can say, Trent.
Get some grants for all this. Get some grants for all this.
You have a lot.
No, I appreciate it, very informative. A lot of good questions.
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. That's all I have.
Fire chief.
Thank you, Council President. Bridgeville responded to 31 calls for service, 2 minor building fires. 11 of those were medical emergencies, with the rest being fire alarms. We have 2 members that are 2/3 of the way complete with their Essentials of Firefighting certification program. They should wrap up and test in May. And we did receive a new member that bought a home on Bank Street. He joined our company last Thursday. He's got 11 years in the fire service. He's fully certified. With the fact that he bought a home, I think it's safe to assume that he's going to be with us for a while. Our new fire gear was ordered. Is actually, I just found out on Saturday, going to be here in the next 2 weeks. And all of our air packs are, we're beginning the training on all of our new air packs, and they will go into service on May 1st. That is all.
Thanks, chief.
Thank you.
Southbridge EMS, did Dan come back?
I think they're trained.
Bridgeville Historical Society, Mary Wise.
Thank you. I'll try not to be too long. I'll try to keep it short. And I wish my glasses.
Oh, what's the sense now?
First of all, this Sunday coming up is the 23rd of February, and we are having a speaker down at the fire hall, and thanks to the fire company for helping all the time for us. Great. At any rate, Dr. Obley, a retired Methodist minister who loves history, and all you women and all you well, aren't any teenage girls here tonight, but you all should come down to hear this. It is his talk about Barbara Bush being a matriarch. You rarely hear that anymore anywhere in politics, but he wants to give that history to us, and he is very worthwhile. So is the topic. So it's Sunday at 1:30. He'll begin to talk 1:45. You should be out of there by 3 o'clock and learn quite a bit. We hope to see you there. We still have a few Penguin game tickets. We have about 21 of them. The drawing will be this Friday. The state lottery number, the 3-digit number. So hopefully someone will, around here, will have purchased that winning ticket. Also, we still have calendars, which are strictly historic. It's very, very great history books for $10 a year. To give you an example of what we do get into, and the mayor knows she comes in every once in a while to help us, and it's great to have her help. We got a phone call Friday from a lady in Zelienople. Her mother is deceased, her father is deceased. She has all these papers, the death notices, birth note, all that. And so she's mailing us a box of them. And we do have about 7 drawers right now, strictly family histories in Bridgeville area. One of the very, very interesting things to me was what came email on Friday from Essen, Germany, West Germany, asking about our, well, we know there are 2 of them in Collier, and there's one over right as you get onto the Bridgeville Road, on Fire Hill Road. They're Essen, E-S-S-E-N, actual, what's the word of lines? Yeah. But anyway, since my grandfather, my father, they were all on one side for not farmers, Fire Hill, no, come on, workers.
Miners.
Coal miners. Oh, geez. Anyway, that's what he wrote us about, and we're going to be getting back to him tomorrow. We want him to bring those people over if they're sincerely interested and give them tours of what we do have. I think I have held up giving you this information, and it's time to do so. We had in this area 15 businesses. The first one was established about 1885. We only took this as far as 1950. We have 15 companies, businesses. 2 are from South Fayette, 1 from Kerwin Heights, 2 from Collier, sorry. The rest are here in Bridgeville, still running, working, and still under family management. It's almost unheard of. We have met with the Chamber of Commerce. We have met with the Rotary Club, and we'll be happy to meet with the rest of you. We've been working with Lori, she knows, and I appreciate that. It's going to be across from Sarasniks on that wire, that those 15 names are going to be on there, and it's from the Bridgeville Area Historical Society. So watch for that. Probably about March 2nd, they'll go up. And so learn history. We've already had 2 companies come to us and ask us to do the next 60 years. So,
Mary, what's going up on that?
history.
What's going up on that fence?
Sir?
Just a banner or plaques or?
They will be the vinyl posters, or bigger than a poster. The advertising company around here is doing them for us.
Okay.
And so now if we've missed anyone, please see us, because we'll put you in the 2021 when it comes out. So I want all of you to think about how great it is to have a small town down in the valley, and we have 15 already. I think it's fantastic history. Oh, let's see, 1 or 2 other things. And my glasses are not good tonight. One other thing. I never knew that Martha Washington made and sold women's shoes. So come on over to Martha and take a look for yourself. It's sitting there, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Sitting there, and big print. Mrs. Washington, boy, she made shoes and she sold them. So we're finding out a little bit about that company is now up in Oregon. When this piece was made, it was made in Springfield, Ohio. And we get very interesting things. And we have the mini museum, and you have to come in and see. And we have about 5 times as much stuff in storage as we have on display. Please come see us.
Thanks, Mary.
That sign she's talking about came out of the building next door.
Oh, is that right? Bridgeville Library representative, Ray, you have something?
Yeah. Real quick. We had lectures new officers to be placed at starting next month. We'll start the future plan for 2020. No news at this time. So,
Thanks, Rick.
thank you. Thank you.
No one parking for next month, right? Planning Commission?
Yeah, real quick, we didn't elect officers because Dale and Larry weren't at the meeting, so we held it off a month. Tim ran the meeting, went over some stuff, but the main takeaway of the meeting was he's tasking all members to do like a wish list of 10 items that we really want to kind of see are done in Bridgeville, and kind of narrow it down to maybe, based on everybody's looking at maybe 3. So at the end of the year, when you guys are doing your budget, we can sit there, planning commission, go to council and say, look, these are the projects we want you guys to look at. Some might be short term, some might be long term, like over a couple of years.
Yeah, I had a chance to come to that meeting. What struck me is looking at attainable projects
Yes.
versus something that was just completely out of reach. So
Right.
that's a good sign.
Tim did a nice job for me.
Yeah, he did. Borough Manager, Lori Collins.
I provided my written report and a 2020 project update. We're going to be updating that monthly. I just thought of 2 projects that are not on there already to keep you advised in real time. So if anyone has any questions, comments, you can contact me regarding anything that I've listed there. Other than that, I just want to publicly say that we went to a meeting seminar sponsored by Brentwood Bank and Jefferson Regional Health Center regarding the census reporting and how important that is for a community to actually reply. There's funding available, and if you have residents in the community that are hesitant to reply, then the funding that's out there, federal funding, it is cut back. So our goal is to educate our residents in the next couple months so that they actually reply to the census. We sent out a census fact sheet with the garbage bills a couple weeks ago. We're going to try to hold some education sometime in March. We're going to advertise for residents that aren't sure about replying to the census. They can come down to the building because they want you to do it online now, and we'll assist them in replying. We're going to let managers know, such as the Bridgeville Towers, Goodwill Manor, those areas, and those leaders in there a bit as to how to educate their residents or to help them reply, just so that we can get the most for our community. We lost probably 300 resident count between the census from 10 years ago and the census prior to that. It was like 5248, 5230, and I think it's 5148 now. So maybe not that many, but yeah.
But how much does it cost per household? It's not counted.
If a family of 5 does not reply to the census over a 10-year period, you lose $100,000 in funding. So it's substantial. And one of the things we want to try to educate are the renters who may not realize the importance of their reply. So that's going to be our goal this year. So if we would like to talk to the library also about sending individuals over there also that may need some help and letting your staff know, what they can do to help them. Anything that we can do to make sure everyone that we can get replies. So.
Yeah, right. For example, I know that at least one of the employees helps on the computers, especially for the seniors. If that individual could
that'd be great.
help them with it, because I know that those are used constantly. And that would be, I'm sure, if you had somebody or one of the stations to be able to support that would be appreciated. That's funding for everything, including the library, correct, Lori?
Correct.
County funding for that. So it almost, we should try to promote that.
That's all.
Thank you, Lori. We appreciate that document. That's fantastic. Anything under old business? New business. We are going to do an executive session. Can we adjourn first? Take a motion to adjourn is by Bruce, seconded by Nino. All in favor? Opposed?